Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Briareos Kerensky and this is the review of
Gun Gun Pixies!
It's bad. But I'm kinda happy to have bought it. It's an almost perfect manual on how not to do a game. Interface, controls, number of stages, collision detection, length of cutscenes, playable characters, everything is so mesmerizingly wrong, resulting in the worst Vita game I've ever played and possibly the worst game compile art ever published. Gun Gun Pixies is published by Compile Art and developed by Shade, the same team behind the two Bullet Girls. Gun Gun Pixies uses the same engine, shifting the scale of playable characters and targets. Both Bullet Girls were a tad rough around some edges. Collision detection was a bit off at long range, characters had to be stationary to interact with objects, and characters were a bit stiff when it came to precision movement. Developers knew that and, for example, jumps were only possible at predetermined points, with open locations for plenty of maneuvering space. Creating a game where a tiny character has to explore human-sized rooms poses new challenges, however. Rooms have plenty of vertical extension, so jump is free. Targets are huge in comparison, so players can aim less precisely. There aren't many objects to interact with, and those that are big compared to the player's avatar. Shade rose up to these new challenges. They added the single worst jump in recent memory, completely screwed up the camera, and did nothing about the other problems. Or, in fact, made them worse. Some of them, like control precision, are further highlighted by Gun Gun Pixies' new environments, while others, like collision detection, are far worse than in Bullet Girls. But let's start from the beginning. The interface. The main menu is harmless enough, although it has some quirks. For example, new items in the shop don't appear immediately, but you have to browse through categories to get them, or you have to return to the Bad Times main icon to start it, rather than just pressing circle as all other missions, but it's decent enough. Story mode has lengthy cutscenes with girls talking, and talking some more, all depicted with typical compile art portraits. Depending on the cutscene, you can get voiceovers or not. You can go through dialogues automatically, add the text box, call up the script, or fast forward a cutscene. Pretty standard stuff. Only that these cutscenes are unskippable. You can fast forward through those, but you can't skip them entirely. In fact, you can fast forward in two ways: everything or just scenes you've already seen. So, two buttons doing the same thing. Great. These cutscenes can be long, even 4 minutes long in fast forward. Now, after you complete a mission, you're thrown automatically to the closing cutscene, then you're asked if you want to save, and then automatically sent to a new cutscene. Maybe you want to go back to the main menu to check the shop, customize your characters, or do something that doesn't involve the main story. You can't. You either have to fast forward through the cutscene or quit the game altogether. You can go through the cutscene until the game lets you save and quit to the main menu, but this means you have to go through the cutscene nonetheless. Should you want to replay any of the missions, you'll have to go through the same cutscene again with no chance to skip it. Bullet Girls allowed to skip cutscenes, why Gun Gun Pixies doesn't? Probably these were developed by Compile Art and they were against user-friendliness. If you die during a mission, you have two choices: retry and quit. Retry will bring you to a checkpoint, that could be before a cutscene. Quit will bring you to the title screen. Title screen, not the main menu, from where you load your game.
Gun Gun Pixies!
In Gun Gun Pixies, players take the role of Usamael and Cameriel, two tiny aliens traveling to Earth to make people happy by shooting them. They focus their efforts in the Tori household, conveniently inhabited by 5 girls. Other girls join the cast, including Neptune and Noir acting as transfer students. Both are present for just 1 mission out of 8, and their contribution to the game is essentially to lengthen your suffering through it. The 2 pixies are further hindered in their task by mysterious squids with condoms for head. Classic tasteful compile art design. These squids don't do really much, they just sit around a room waiting for one of the 2 pixies to come close and start circling around them, sometimes attacking. To face this opposition, Usamael and Cameriel have a vast arsenal of weapons at their disposal, comprising of 4 weapon types, 2 exclusive to each character. Pistols for Usamael, rifles for Cameriel. Pistols start as low-firing, short-ranged and single-bullet, while rifles are fast-firing, medium-ranged and fire a spread of 3 bullets each shot. If you think that rifles might have a slight edge over pistols, you are right, but it doesn't take long to unlock fast-firing pistols with bullet spread and single-shot rifles. Single-shot weapons are more powerful and with longer range, but by the time one of these weapons fire 2 shots, their counterparts fired 5 salvos. A lot of the squid enemies also like to hide in their heads after being hit once, becoming invulnerable for what feels an eternity. Fast-firing weapons can stun-lock them, greatly cutting engagement times. Long-range fire against squids isn't particularly effective because collision detection is way off and aiming at long ranges is very stiff. You can have a target in your sights only to see shots scatter around, hit invisible boundaries, or just go through your target. Once hit, targets recoil back, so it's always best to run straight on their faces and fire away until they're dead. This tactic won't work all the times because, again, bullets seem to have a will of their own, sometimes having a minimum range on going through targets altogether. You can go iron sight, but where you are aiming between the normal view and iron sights is not the same point. Of course, and in certain locations the camera gets struck into objects completely obscuring the view. The camera is another big problem. It's okay when Usamael and Cameriel are running around the floor, but the moment they step into tight corners, it becomes a nightmare. In the crevices between furniture and walls, it's stuck horizontally. When trying to gauge the next treacherous jump, it routinely fails to show the surroundings, and at times even your character, and judging distances is always difficult. Controls don't help either. You can't just nudge the analog stick to position your character where you want, they always have to take a full step. Jumping is weird. You can jump while moving, but from what I've gathered, characters jump only when both feet are touching the ground, resulting in a split second of delay between your input and the actual jump. This leads to a lot of falls, and if you fall from too high, you're immediately dead. Gun Gun Pixies requires to perform treacherous jumps from shelves, furniture, desks and other objects, and no matter how much you've played, it's always a tense experience. Failing to jump and then input a direction will make you fall. Getting halfway on a set of stairs or plant only to fall back on the floor is frustrating. Mistakenly falling to your death near the end of a mission leads to open anger. Gun Gun Pixies has the distinction of being one of the very few games that made me curse at the screen after a botched jump. After the 5th mission, the Pixies get a hookshot to zip to certain locations, but it always requires to angle the camera in a very strange way and you still need to be very precise in where you aim. For some reason the hookshot can only be fired at points above the Pixies, and I'm still not sure how the game calculates crossable distances. The 8 missions in Gun Gun Pixies are divided into 3 orders each, plus a bonus stage. Usually 2 orders see the Pixies going around the Tori household to perform a variety of tasks. However, there are only 3 rooms, all bedrooms, in the whole game, 4 if you count the bonus stage, with little or no variation in their topography. This is an incredibly lazy setup. I can understand the limited number of rooms, but why not having things like chairs or pillows move around the room to create just a tiny bit of variety? Gun Gun Pixies' basic idea is kinda interesting, but its execution is beyond basic. Mr. Mosquito and some games belonging to the Simple series on the PS2 made so much more with this idea. And yes, Gun Gun Pixies is even more basic than a Simple series game. One order in a mission is usually reserved to pacify a human girl by shooting various parts of her body. During these segments, human girls will be doing a number of things, like yoga poses, using a running mat, dancing to summon something, pole dancing, or... I don't fucking know, man. During pacification, girls will hurl sweat, stars, hearts, and giant balls of doom towards the 2 pixies. Getting hit will result in damage, and due to camera constraints, difficulty to get to elevated position, and limited space to dodge in those places, pacification will always see Usamael and Cameriel firing up in the sky, once again showing that the camera is completely unsuited for even such a vital part of the game, as it will bury itself in the ground, offering next to no view of the sides. The bonus stage is called Bath Time, and it's the best way to collect coins. Here, Usamael and Cameriel have to shoot a girl's body while she's taking a bath and randomly switching between 2 poses. It's a very mindless bonus stage, and once you've unlocked Kira and Neptune, you can replay the stages to rack up more than 50,000 coins in less than 5 minutes, freeing the 2 pixies from risking their life and your mental sanity in collecting coins sitting on top of windows of wardrobes while playing missions.
何かを学べたな。入浴タイム行くっす。
Is there any redeeming quality in Gun Gun Pixies? No, there's none. Especially when you consider that Shay took a flawed, yet serviceable game engine from their previous titles, belonging arguably to the same genre of this one, the third-person shooter, and made it worse. Stay away. I hope you have enjoyed this review and you'll stick around for more. Briare Oskarensky, over and out.